I'm Natalie, and this is my classroom management Lapbook. The first page talks about our philosophy, and as a teacher, we need to know what our beliefs are and what kind of classroom we're going to have. I most identify with a high control teacher. I have certain expectations that I think should be lived up to, and I just need my classroom to go in an orderly way. So some of the functions that go with that are rewards and punishments, and students need to be able to participate and willing to participate and listen to the rules, the classroom rules that we have. And then next over here is our democratic classroom, and underneath each one I have a description of what it is and ways we can implement it into our classroom. I'm going to focus on student choice for this part, but there's obviously a lot of aspects that go into that. For student choice, I just think that's a really important way that helps our students get involved in our classroom. I know for me personally, I took a class this semester for Children's Lit, and our professor actually had a list of like 50 alternative book reports that we could choose from that list what projects we wanted to do. And they still represent our understanding and our learning, and it's still proving that we did the assignment, but it gives us a sense of freedom and a sense of choice. And I think that's a great way to get students involved and interested in the class and the topics that are being taught, because they're able to oh, if I'm really into art, I can do the art project. If I really love poetry, I can do the poetry project. So it's still demonstrating their understanding, but it's also giving them a sense of control in their own learning. The next page we have is our motivation. And so we have our classroom book that we would create together, and it talks about different aspects of motivation and how we should give students choice that I talked about and challenge them, and we should have control in our classroom and construct meaning and collaborate with each other and all those good things. And then underneath it, we have this little pull-out thing that gives us some strategies for increasing motivation. One of those ways is vary our instruction as teachers. If we're constantly lecturing at them and just blah, 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 they're going to lose interest really quickly. But if we're able to incorporate different things and then involve our students more, they'll be a lot more interested in the topics that we're teaching and the lessons that we're presenting them with. And then there's two types of motivation, extrinsic and intrinsic. And extrinsic is more of a short-term system where they're rewarded immediately. Intrinsic is kind of self-motivated. They're doing it just because they want to. For me, I plan on teaching younger grades, so I'll mostly be using extrinsic to help them develop those good tools and habits. And then in my classroom, I am planning on doing like table points, and then once they reach a certain number, there's a variety of rewards that they can use. So there's class parties or extra time for recess, praise notes if I see somebody doing something good, and I plan on using those in my classroom. And then the next page we have is rules and consequences, and for that I chose to do this thing where I have some different rules written. So be kind to others, raise your hand, listen when the teacher's talking, and keep the classroom clean. And I really think that as teachers we should include our students in the rule-making process, because I think that helps them feel a sense of purpose and includes them in the rules, and then they're like, oh, I need to follow this because that was my idea, or whatever the case may be. So I think having the students brainstorm with you what rules you think are important and what should be in the classroom will really help them see the importance of it too. And as you go through the list of suggestions they gave, just kind of combine ideas to make it a broader term or rule that covers more. And then I think posting it where all the students can see it. So if they do break a rule, you can be like, hey, that's one of our rules that you're breaking, and they can see it clearly, and then they are able to identify what they're doing wrong. And then as far as consequences, I made this stoplight. So red is like if they're breaking a rule, we either have to call home or call the principal, loss of rewards, timeout, whatever it may be. Yellow is just kind of neutral. So I put natural consequences there. It's not necessarily bad. It's not a reward though, and it just is what happens when they do misbehave or do something. If they make a mess, they have to clean it up. It's a natural consequence. For green, it's kind of the rewards I talked about already. Recognizing the student, giving them points, giving them whatever reward I feel is appropriate. And then for the next section is prevention. And so there's a lot of aspects of prevention because that's the most important thing in our classroom. And so one thing that we can do to help prevent misbehaviors is having set procedures for our class, because if they know what the expectations are and know how to perform a function, then class will run a lot smoother and they'll know what's expected of them. And so some procedures that I think are really important are like teaching them how to line up, how to get the teacher's attention, what to do when we give an attention signal, how to respond to that, how to come to the rug, how to turn in homework, things that they're going to do often. So it should just be taught once so that we can get it out of the way and they know what's expected. Another part of prevention is self-starters and fast finishers. And one self-starter that I thought would be great is like having a word search of the vocab words for that week. It's kind of fun, but it's also something they can do on their own quietly. And then for fast finishers, letting them read a book of their choice. It encourages literacy and they have the freedom to read whatever they want. And then as far as transitions go, like they save time for the entire class, so you're able to use more time for instructions. And it promotes order and efficiency, and like I really like the attention signal of give me 5 because they can hear it and they can see it and they can see me counting down, so they'll get on task quicker. And then this one is intervention, and it's different ways we can get our students back on task. So I kind of did a thermometer when we rated the different behaviors. So one thing, like students talking, just go over to them and get closer to them, and they'll stop if it's really severe. They need to go to the office or call home or whatever it is. And then the last thing is my classroom map. And I made it so that I can see all the desks. I can see the computer screens easily. The children are in tables for collaboration, and there's a corner over here just for reading.